Okay, we are going to continue. This chapter is all graphing, so lots and lots of graph paper. Luckily, this first section you're not going to need to worry too much about that. But tomorrow isn't Monday. You will need lots of graph paper, so make sure that's handy. But today we are starting chapter 6, and it is on slope, mainly slope. So we'll title our notes slope. Yes.
Can I teach class and you do my work?
I want to teach class.
No. All right. So slope. Listen. Slope is the steepness of a line.
Isn't it rise?
Yep. It is rise over run. But it is the steepness of a line. You can think of it as an incline if you want. We need to remember as we read slope, this is going to be very important for you to remember for the rest of your life as far as in math class, that we read, like in English class, left to right. Okay, now we might in some instances actually draw our slope backwards, but we're always going to go initially left to right. That's very, very, very important. So as I read left to right, and I look at the slope of this line that I'm sketching right here, so here's my x and y axis. And as I sketch this line, we see that that's going up as I read left to right. So this is a positive slope. And then as I read left to right in the next one, going down. So that's a negative slope. And Trey, you should be writing this. Take your notes. Be responsible. That doesn't mean pick up a pencil and pretend.
Do you do the checks?
Yes.
Okay.
You never know the day or the hour. Okay, listen. So as we read left to right, you see how this is going up? Positive slope. And as I read left to right, this is going down, so negative slope. The next one, students always get confused. We need to make sure we're solid on these two. The next one is a flat line. It's flat. That means it's a zero slope. I don't want to say no slope. Your book uses that term. I don't like that term. That doesn't make sense. There is a slope. It happens to be zero. I think the book actually uses no slope for this one, and I don't like that either. Which is the exact opposite. This is a vertical line. We aren't going to say no slope for this. We're going to say it's an undefined slope. So notice this line that's flat, that is horizontal like the horizon. And this slope, this one that's undefined going straight up and down, that's vertical. We want to keep those two terms straight, vertical and horizontal. Now, let's put that away. Okay. Thank you. Let's say, and there's no need for you to necessarily write this down if this part, because it might take you a while to draw this graph. But here's a line. And let's say I want to know the slope of this line. I'm going to count my slope is, and you do write this part down, slope is rise over run. Ryan had mentioned that earlier. A way I write that is change in y over change in x with that little triangle. That means change in.
Bless you.
Change in means to subtract. So if you want a formula, you're going to do y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. Now, your book or other textbooks may say put the 2 first and then the 1. It really doesn't matter. I just like to do the first point first and the second point second. It doesn't matter. You get the same answer in the end anyway. But when I have a picture, I can just count my slope. I just need to make sure I hit the lines exactly. So let's say I take this point right here. And I'm going to count my rise. Well, my rise is down 3. And right 2. Because that's the next place that it hits the line. And if that's actually my slope, at every spot, my rise is down 3 and my run is 2. No matter where I go. Down 3 and right 2. So the slope of this line, and we'll use m to mean slope, is negative 3 over 2. Do you see where I get that? Mm-hmm. Anyone confused by that? No confusions? Okay. All right. Okay, in that case, let's do this line. Get everything out of the way. Let's say I want the slope of this line. Now you watched me count it out, but those are the 2 points I'll use. And I'm going to count left to right, first my rise. So I want to know where I'm going. So I'm going to count up how many?
2.
So my slope, the numerator, is 2. And then I count right, how many? 5. So my slope is 2/5. Rise is 2. The run is 5. Rise over run. Any questions on that? All right. So our formula is change in y over change in x, which means y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. Now I need to be consistent as I write this out.
What does M mean?
It stands for slope. Why M was selected, I have no idea, but that's what it stands for, slope. All right. Let's say that I have the point -2, 1, and 5, 7. And I want to know the slope that connects those points. I'm just going to write down the change in y and change over x. Change in y over change in x. And I want you always writing the formulas you use, because at this point in the school year, it's going to start where you have lots and lots of formulas. They're going to start building up. So you're going to want to memorize them, so write them each time. Now, as I do this, I need to remember that in my ordered pairs, the first number is x and the second number is y. X, y. And I'm going to use this as my first point, and I'll use this one as my second point. And I'm just going to be consistent. So I'm going to do 1 minus 7 on top, and then -2 minus 5. Any questions on where I got that? So see, I subtracted the y's, and I subtracted the x's. So 1 minus 7 is -6, and -2 minus 5 is -7. Now, I want to go ahead and reduce that. A negative over a negative is simply positive, so the slope is 6/7. That means I'm going to go up 6, right 7. Okay, so here's 2 more examples. Any questions how I got that answer there?
Wait, why is it positive? Because
A negative divided negative is a positive. And we want to make sure we do simplify if possible. All right, so someone walk me through this. Finding the slope between these 2 points. Okay, go ahead, Ryan.
5 minus 7 over 2 minus 4.
He is correct. Now, what if he said this? What if he said 5 minus 7 and then 4 minus 2? Is that right?
No.
Why not?
Yeah, it is.
Wait, you would have to flip both of them. wouldn't
No,
you?
because the negatives are the
Say that again.
cancel either.
Okay, say that again, Sarah.
If you flipped one of them, if you flip like, there's 2 here, if you flip one of these, you'd have to flip both of them.
She is right. Okay?
Oh,
And let's take a look at why. If I go ahead and do this, I'll get negative 2 over 2, which reduces to negative 1. If I do this one, I get negative 2 over negative 2, which reduces to positive 1. So there is a difference here. I have to be consistent, and that's very, very important. Be consistent.
Do you have to do the y first?
Y is always on top. We have to be consistent. So whatever I choose as the first point is the first point, top and bottom. What do we have here? 5 minus 7? Okay, so we get 1 in the end for that one. All right, do this one. What do I get?
4 minus 2.
4, careful,
Negative.
4 minus negative 2. Because it's changed from y, so I already have a subtraction. That's going to be a plus. And then negative 1 what? Minus 3. Which is 4 plus 2 over negative 4. Which is 6 over negative 4. Now I reduce that. That's going to be negative 3 halves. I always move my negative up to the top.
It's negative 5, isn't it? Oh, I'm dumb. Wrote down the wrong number. Dang it.
Okay, so there's a little bit of confusion on the minus. So we'll do another example where that happens. So I'm going to erase all this.
No, I just didn't write down 3. I did another 4.
No, I mean someone else is confused. That's okay. They can be confused. We'll fix it. Okay, so let's say I have negative half of the lung thing. Negative 8 minus 3. And let's say I have negative 1 and negative 7. There, all negatives. Lots of negatives. Now our formula is this. Change in y over change in x. Which means y1 minus y2 all over x1 minus x2. Well, let's put in the numbers. What's y1?
Negative.
So negative 3. Now I write minus how much?
Negative 7.
Negative 7.
Which turns into a plus.
Yes, it changes into a plus. And then we have negative 8 over minus, or negative 8 minus negative 1. And those negatives, negative becomes a positive. So I actually have negative 3 plus 7 and negative 8 plus 1. Well, what's negative 3 plus 7?
4.
10.
Negative 3 plus 7
Negative 4. No, positive 4.
is 4 over, what's negative 8 plus 1?
Negative 7.
Negative 7. What do I do with that negative? I'm always going to move it up to the top. So it's negative 4 over 7. Because I always want to go left to right. So I don't want my negatives in the denominator. Which gives us a fact. Here's a negative. I have it in my numerator. I could pull it out and have minus and then a positive numerator and denominator. Or I can pull it out and move it down. All 3 of these fractions are the same. Okay? So I want us to move our negative to the top or pull it outside. I don't want it down here. Okay? So what does this mean to do? Go down 4, right 7. Down 4, right 7. Don't say over 7 because then you might go left. and then you're doing it backwards. That is a very common mistake, to do your slopes backwards. Always go left to right. Even if it goes off the paper, that's okay. Guess where it should be, and then if you need to reverse it, that's fine. Let's say I have 4, 9, and 4, 12. What's the slope? Well, it's change in y over change in x. So what will I put at top?
9 minus 12.
9 minus 12, and what's at bottom?
4 minus 4.
4 minus 4. So I get negative 3 over 0. No. You cannot have 0 in the denominator, so that is undefined.
Oh, really?
Yep. No zeros in denominator. It's undefined because this gets infinite. It goes to really big. So it's undefined, so I'm going to say the slope is undefined. I have a vertical line. That means up and down. It looks like this, up and down. All right, let's do this one. M is change in y over change in x, which means, what do I write?
3 minus 3.
3 minus 3 over
6 minus negative 2.
6 minus negative 2, which is going to be a plus. So I get 0 over 8. Now this one's okay. I get 0. 0 is my slope, which means I have a horizontal line, which means it goes left and right, like that. It's flat. You're going to want to remember that. That's a good quiz question, like just draw a vertical line, just draw a horizontal line. Now make sure you're keeping those straight.
Do that on the test.
Yes, definitely. That's definitely on
Watch
the
me
test.
get it wrong.
All right, we are at the last thing that we need for our notes. We'll do 3 examples of it. It's not very tricky, but it'll just help us to get some practice. All right, so the directions here say use the point in the slope to graph the line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot this point, and then I'm going to count this slope. Point and count, or plot and count. So I'm going to plot 3, 2. So I'm going to erase all this. Don't need that. I'm going to plot 3, 2. X is 3, Y is 2. Don't get your X and Y's confused. 3, 2, that's my point. Okay, now my slope was a half. So that means up 1, right 2. So on my graph at 3, 2, I'm going to go up 1. You see what I'm doing? Up 1, right 2. Up 1, right 2. Now watch how I reverse this. Do you see how it's going in this direction? So my slope was 1/2. If I want to reverse it, I could go down 1, left 2. A negative over a negative, that's a positive, so that's the same. So down 1, left 2, down 1, left 2, down 1, left 2. Do you see how these would technically be the same? Okay, so I'll put this line in blue. And I should, and this is what I want you guys to do, I don't want any short stubby lines. Well, what do I mean by that? Sometimes students are like, oh, I'll plot 2 points and I'll draw my line like this. and then I have this short little stubby line here, and I have this entire huge graph here that I've just ignored. No, 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 no. You guys are not lazy bonobos. You take your ruler, or you pretend you have a ruler, and you actually draw this out and extend it as far as you can on your graph. So it needs to go the whole way. And that shows me you understand what the heck you're doing. That's going to be important later in the chapter that you actually do that, so we want to practice it. So that's the first line. Any questions how I got that?
Wait, what?
Go ahead.
So if it's up 1, right 9. Thank you.
Okay, so I was actually trying to look at this next question. It's down, start at -5, -1, and a slope of 3. Now I have nothing here in my denominator. That means it's a 1. So it goes up 3, right 1. So I start at -5, -1. All right, -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -1. Now do you notice how when I plot a point, it's x then y? Did you notice that? When I plot a point, it's x then y. But when I do my slope, it's rise and then run, it's y then x. So they're different, so just make sure you keep that the same. So my slope was what?
-5, 2.
Well, no, that was my point. -5.
Oh, slope is 3.
Yeah, my point was, I think, -5, -1, and my slope was 3. So from this point, I'm going to count up 3, right 1. Up 3, right 1. And then it goes off the page. Then I can reverse it. And I'll go ahead and draw this line in black. Yes.
Can you do right? I mean, up 3 and then right 3?
No.
No?
No. It has to be, it's rise 3
Over.
and
Right.
over 1, right 1. Okay, I put my arrows at the end. And this is my line. All right, let's do the last one. -3, -4, and look, now I have a negative slope, so it should be going down. Both these other ones went up. I mean, the second one more than the other one, but this one's going to go down. So I have -3, -4, so that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start at -3, -4, so x, -3, then -4, keep my x's and y's straight, and then I'm going to use my slope, which is down how much? What was my slope?
-3 and 4.
So I go down how much?
3.
And then,
Cross 4.
okay, so you said over and across. What does that mean, left or right?
Left. No, right.
It's right. We always graph left to right. You have to go left to right. So I go down 3, right 4. Not over 4, not across 4. Down and right.
But it says left to right. You never went left.
I started at the left, and I went to the right. Left to right. I go left to right. Her mind's blown. All right, so that might not be enough points, but you notice how I went down and then... So do you see that if I reversed it, I would be over here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So after you go left to right, then you can reverse it if you need to. And I actually meant that to be green, but whatever. Notice how this line's going down. All right, take out your books and grab a whiteboard and marker. Yeah, I'm about to die.